Hello and welcome to Wisdom Bites. Hope you're well. Thank you once again for joining us. Very much appreciated. Hope you've had a wonderful weekend and I hope you're ready for this week. It's only going to be a short week because most markets will be closed on Good Friday, this Friday coming. And in today's video, I'm going to be continuing with the theme of exactly what's been happening with Bitcoin and try to make some sense as to where it might be going in the next few weeks and months. If I get time, I'll try and do the third part of the Attitude series that I started over a week ago. But before I begin, just the usual polite reminder, please remember everything in my videos is for educational purposes. Nothing should be taken as financial advice. Please do your wider research before you make any investment decisions. So with that out of the way, let's get straight into this. So on the bigger picture, we'll look at the daily time frame here. We're still following this trajectory that we've got here, the dominant downtrend, the series of higher lows as we've seen there, which should suggest that we're protected on the downside here to around the $39,000 mark here, should the price decide to come back down here. But I don't think, from what I'm seeing in the charts anyway, that this is going to come back to these levels, and I'll explain why. But since coming down to these levels, we've had one rally, two rallies, and now we've had the third rally up here. And this rally was quite different from the other two, because what we got was a higher high here, whilst at the same time creating these higher lows. So there was a lot of expectation and hope that this would go back to the upper side. And it yet may do so, but we seem to be having quite a deep correction, deeper than I would have expected at this point in this cycle here. And by the cycle, I mean by these 2-month cycles that I've been talking about. That is, if you take the two lows here, between there and there, you can see it's around about 60 days, in between which you get from a low to a high back to a low again. Very similar here, from this to this point here, was about 66 days. In between this period, we got another high, then back to a low again. And then between this point here to this point low here, so this time we created a lower low, which was already giving us a sign that we're on a downward trajectory here. And that was around 52 days. And then if we take the time from this point here to this point, that was around 50 days. So this was a shorter cycle. Again, between the two lows here, well, we've got three lows here. We got at least one and two highs as well. So these cycles were a bit shortening here. And the point I'm trying to make is that we may well be in these 50 to 60 day cycles. So we've gone from this low here, from where the current rally started here. From there, if you count about 60 days, let's say, will take us to around about the middle of May. And in this period, we've made one high so far. This previous cycle of the 60 days, we had one, possibly two or three even, highs here. And I'm open and flexible to the idea that we're going to go back up here again, maybe retest the 45 before coming back down to a cycle low around about the middle of May, which will be obviously in a month's time. So those people thinking that we're going to be going all the way down here in one trajectory in a way that we did here, of course it can do that. But I think from what I'm seeing in the charts, it seems to be that we're more likely, again, it's all about probabilities, not certainties or guarantees. This is the possibilities and the probabilities scenario to me, that we're going to come back. And whilst this has been very disappointing, because we were expecting to reach these levels really here, at 52, where I was expecting a big correction actually, but we're having it here rather than there. And we may yet reach these levels, even though they may look very unlikely at this point here. But I did tweet earlier on about the hidden bullish divergence here on the daily chart and the normal bullish divergence on the 4-hour chart, which I'll have a look at now for you and give you more explanation. So this is the daily chart. And this is where we can see quite clearly that the price has made a higher low here at the same time as the oscillator, the RSI, has made a lower low. And on the 4-hour chart, we can see quite clearly here that the price has made a lower low while the RSI has made a higher low here. So once again, this is the normal bullish divergence that we'd see. So on both counts, on the 4-hour and the daily charts, we can expect some sort of a relief rally at least to the upside. And should that materialize, then we can have a look at the Fibonacci retracement to see where we can get up to. So if we do the Fibonacci retracement, it's going to be to possibly the 61.8 level here, the 45,800 maybe. This would make sense anywhere up to here to give us that W pattern if it wants to go to the high side, or if we get rejected here, it could go obviously much further lower to create a lower low from this point here. So only time will tell, but this is what I would be expecting here. And if it goes up to the 50% level, which is this level here, that would be about 45,000. If we stick to the 4-hour chart, something interesting developing here. If you look at this point here, there could be a left shoulder. We've just created a head, and there is the possibility here of a right shoulder. So we'll just have to see if that works out. But certainly if you look at it from this point of view, you can see that there's a very common pattern with Bitcoin. When it tries to bottom out, it'll try and create an inverse head and shoulders. So if we stay on the 4-hour chart, this is exactly what's happened here. Just to try and make some sense of it, we've obviously topped out at the 48,200 level here. We've had a big fall very, very quickly, tried to regain this ground again, but failed to do so, creating a lower high here. Then we've had a cascade fall again into this symmetrical triangle, which is a continuation pattern. So I did expect this to maybe fall down to these levels here at least. This is one of the strong key support levels. And if we look left here, we can see that this is very strong support going back many, many weeks and months here, all the way down there and even further. So this is another reason why we should get some sort of a brief rally here to the upside, at least up to this diagonal line, which is again saying around about the 45.5. So that would make sense from the measurements we've just taken with the Fibonacci retracements. And then this is the key level here again, just up to the 46,000. So that would make sense from that point of view as well. Moving on to the weekly chart here, very disappointing that having made a big effort to get above the 8 EMA, the blue line here, and then holding it the following week. Last week, we've closed below this now. So we've lost the momentum to go higher in the longer term. We did actually try to hold the 21 weekly exponential moving average here with this candle 2 weeks ago. And that was really quite a good sign actually. But last week, for whatever reasons, we seem to have fallen back again. And this is where we're currently at. So we'll see what happens this week, but certainly it's looking quite weak on the weekly chart. And those with a discerning eye will notice that there's a certain candlestick pattern forming here. This is what you call an evening star pattern. Usually you find them at the top of the trends, which is what we've got here. And it's usually a big green candle. This was the Marubozu candle here, followed by a small bodied candle, which is then subsequently followed by a red candle here. And that can play out to much lower levels. So we'll see how that happens and how that develops from now on. But we certainly need to keep an eye on this. And if we put a support line here, you can see that we could easily come back down to the $38,000, $39,000 mark here. And on the daily chart, there is a little bit of a hope that this white line here, the 50 simple moving average, we're actually holding quite good support here. So this could well be the bounce that we're expecting. So a bounce up to the $45, $45.5 mark could well be an opportunity to actually close positions or even short there before we take another dip here towards the May low points that we might expect over here. So only time will tell what's happened, but this is just really what's happening currently on the various time frames. And it's no point doing too much analysis because you can get quite confused. Really, these are the levels that I'm looking out for. Currently at the 42 to 42.5. Hopefully we can get back up to about 45.5. And I'm looking at the cycles here to the middle of May, around that time, to see where we could get to. And before that period, I'm expecting a little bit of a bounce before this fall occurs here. And this could well be deeper than these because we've had 1, 2, 3, and this will be the 4th attempt to break this trend line here. So it could well be that by June, July, we could go much further. Although if you look at the 4-year cycles, in the 12-month bear cycle embedded in there, you would normally expect the big fall to come towards the end of that 12 month. So that would really take it towards the end of this year. So I would expect the bigger fall to occur more towards the November, December mark rather than here. So we could really get another rally from the middle of May, June time. Only time will tell. We can only speculate at the moment. Okay, so let's continue now with the third part of the series of the videos that are made on attitude and why attitude will determine the success that we get in our life and why we really need to adopt the right attitude to bring us in line to receive the success and happiness that the right attitude will bring. So today I'm going to cover specifically the most successful 5% of people in our society who are successful and what their attitude is to get them to where they are. Firstly, these 5% sail through life going from one success to another, and what they do is they shrug off any failures by just getting up, dusting themselves down, and they just keep going without complaint. And secondly, you'll find these people are in all walks of life, and I'm talking about here in the sales departments, they're in the board of directors, they are the mothers and the wives and all varieties of sports, etc., etc. So a wide variety of people, and you'll find these people doing outstanding jobs, getting outstanding results, all because they have an outstanding attitude. So what they believe in is that they can accomplish what they set out to accomplish. They can see absolutely no good reason why they can't. And what this does is leads nicely to the quote by Henry Ford, who said that the man who says he can and the man who says he can't are actually both right. Because the man who says he can will, and the man who says he can't won't. All because of this magic word called attitude. So the question is, can we become successful with Bitcoin? Of course we can, and so we will. And the only thing we've got to do is to believe in this. And let me tell you an uncomfortable truth, that these 5% of people are no more brilliant or outstanding than the rest of the 95%. The only thing they have is that they've adopted a different attitude. And these 5% come in various degrees of shapes, sizes, intelligence, background, color, culture, language, nationality, gender, you name it. But they have one thing in common, and that is a winning attitude. And guess what? They expect more good out of life than bad. They expect to succeed in everything they do by having a positive mental attitude. So when these 5% want something, what they believe is that there are more reasons that they can have it than there are reasons that they can't. And that point is reversed for the 95%. See, with a positive mental attitude, you will have more than 9 out of 10 chances that you can get whatever you want. I'm going to make this very important point, that it is impossible to count the number of promotions that have been missed and the number of sales that have not been made, the number of marriages that have been ruined, the number of families fallen apart, and the millions of people who have gone through their life not realizing their true potential, all because of a poor attitude. And you can actually count the millions of jobs held by people but hated by them, the marriages that are tolerated but unhappy, etc., etc. You get the point. All because people are waiting for the world to change around them, instead of taking responsibility that the problem actually lies with them and their poor attitude. So what are the qualities of these 5% of people who have a great attitude? You can spot them very easily because they radiate confidence. They expect success by the way they walk, by the way they talk, by the way they look, by their presence, their body language, how they groom themselves, and the firmness of their handshake. I want you to take away from this insight into attitude that I want you to realize that in the next year, 5 years or 10 years, I want you to think that you can get to the top of whatever it is you are doing or want to do. The most important question is, do you even know that you can do it? The minute you believe that you can do it, then you will automatically have the right attitude. The only thing is, you must believe in yourself that you can do it. And all the research shows that the most effective means of developing a great successful attitude is to actually begin to act as though you have a great expectant attitude towards life. And you can do this right away by acting, talking, walking, feeling, and looking as though you are already belonging to this group of 5%. And if you haven't actually tried it, you will be amazed how confident you will feel and how people will start responding to you. And once you start doing that, I can tell you one thing, that a good attitude can change a person's life as dramatically as a person walking from a dark room and into the light. And finally, I'm going to finish by saying something very profound, so please listen to this very carefully and even write it down, ponder over it and reflect on it. And that is that life is dull only to dull people, life is interesting only to interesting people, and life is successful only to successful people. And the powerful thing with this is that it's your choice if you want to be dull, it's your choice if you want to be interesting, or it's your choice if you want to be successful. So the power lies with you. But before you can do that, you must become, from an attitude point of view, that you wish to achieve this. I.e., if you want to be successful, then you must bring your attitude in line with that of a successful mindset before the success can be attracted to you. Okay, so we'll leave it there. I hope you found some value in this video. And if you did, then please do remember to like and subscribe and to turn on the notification bell. And if you've got any comments, questions or suggestions, leave them in the comments below. Until the next time, take care, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.